Hey, what's up guys? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's continue our lesson with chapter 7 on the topic of research timing. So as the title suggests, it refers to research design based on the duration. Right? The duration, okay, a researcher will have to spend for his or her data collection. Right, so basically there are two main types of research timing. We will only look at two, which are cross-sectional and longitudinal design. So let's look at what they are in actual sense. Okay, so we have here a comprehensive, I believe this is actually comprehensive. Right, it should be complete enough to explain to you the differences between these two types of research timing. So we will look at cross-sectional first in terms of data collection. So for cross-sectional research, participants or the subjects are studied at one particular point of time. Right, so we have an example here. Studied at one particular point of time. Okay, let's highlight that. Okay, so we have an example here to compare the moral development of boys from different age, 10, 13 and 16 years old. So okay, they are all studied at the same point of time. Say for example, this is collected at one point of time, one day. Okay, let's look at an easier example. Okay, how many students, cross-sectional research, how many students in CFS is active on TikTok in 2020? So we were only looking at, or to be precise, in semester 3, 2019, 2020. So we are only looking at subjects at one particular point of time, and that's it. Right? How many students in CFS are active in TikTok or active in using TikTok in semester 3, 2019 and 2020. Right. So the strength or the advantage on using a cross-sectional research is that the results can easily be obtained. Okay, immediate results can be gained. Right, so we just conduct a research at one point in time and that's it. We'll get the data. It's cheaper and less time consuming, and we have less likelihood of losing participants. Right? What does that mean? Say for example, we conducted a survey yesterday, and there were 20 students, and then these 20 students were still alive. Okay, no one would die during that time. If one person died, let's say we have 20 subjects. If one person died, then we only have 19 subjects. So the data only consists for 19 students. Right, so the weakness for cross-sectional research is that it may be overly influenced by the social environment of the time. Okay, say for example, we know for a fact that TikTok is used by a lot of people today. So if we collect this data during this time, we probably have a lot of people using it. However, if we conducted this research 20 years ago, so we might not get any result at all. or maybe in 2 or 3 years time the result might be different because people will be using a different social media platform already, right? So that is what it means, but it will be overly influenced by the social environment at that time. Now, let's look at a real example of research that has been conducted. This is longitudinal, or this one. Right, so it's clearly mentioned here that this is a cross-sectional studies. Cross-sectional study. Okay, so the title of the research is Double Burden of Undernutrition and Obesity in Palestinian School Children. So, this survey or this research is a cross-sectional study surveying 22 schools by the UN Relief and Work Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East and the Palestinian government. So that is it. It's only taken at one point of time, and they surveyed 1,484 children, right? And that's it. As simple as that. Alright, so now let's look at longitudinal research design. Alright, different from cross-sectional, longitudinal research designs are studied over a long period of time. Right, so that's the main difference. It is studied, the subjects or the participants are studied over a long period of time. So we have this example here, a 20 years longitudinal study of moral reasoning. Okay, give you a simple example. Okay, a longitudinal research of how frequent someone is on Instagram. Say, for example, how frequent someone, say for example, Chucky is on Instagram, right? For 20 years. Right, so today Chucky might be very active on Instagram because he's right now quite famous, but in 10 or 15 years time he might have been using other platforms, or he might stop using Instagram because he's pursuing other career, maybe, we don't know. Alright, so let's look at a real world example of a longitudinal study. So here is an actual research of a longitudinal study. It's a 15-year longitudinal study of blood pressure and dementia. Alright, so they are researching the 70 years old in Gothenburg, Sweden for 15 years old. For 15 years, right? Of those who have blood pressure and dementia problem. Right, so the strengths of having or conducting on longitudinal research is that so there will be less bias because you are using the same participant over a period of time. Right, so here we are researching Chucky. Right, so we are only researching Chucky. Right, so there's a tendency for it to be less biased. Right, and sometimes the only design best used to determine progress. Okay, so it's the only design best used to determine progress. So we're looking at the progress of this person here. It's the only, most of the time, it's the only design or research design used to determine progress. The weaknesses include that it's time consuming. So if you conduct a research for 15 15 years, that's a very long time. So that's why it's time consuming and it will be expensive. Right? Imagine looking at the progress or development of something for 15 years. Right? You might have quite a big sum of grant. You are determined to study a subject for 15 years, and that would be not that cost effective. It would cost you a lot of money, and then it's extremely difficult or impossible to be regularly replicated, to be conducted again. Whereas if it's a cross-sectional research, it's can be easily replicated. Right? And then also the weakness is for longitudinal study is it can be done retrospectively, but it may be prone to memory distortion and lack of objectivity. Okay, so I guess that is all for the research timing. So we'll see it again in the following subtopic. Thank you very much.